Okay, so the way that Exxon was valued back in, let's say, the 80s, 90s, 2000s, is that they were valued. Look at my dome in the reflection. Sorry, I'm going to distract everybody here because I'm still in Tokyo. And you can see Tokyo behind me. I'm on a 2-week business trip. I'm going to be here for a long time, but there's a lot of work going on. And when we look at the way that Exxon was valued to the point where they were valued based off of their reserves of oil. Okay, so if they had, a lot of it was also valued off of potential reserves that they would have access to. Okay, so they would project, 5 years out, how much oil will this company have access to, Exxon in this case, and then that would be their projected value put out, and then that's how they would be analyzed. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is in the case of digital assets that are looking at something like crypto. Crypto is going to be valued. Crypto is currently valued essentially in a comp scenario. In a comparison scenario, Bitcoin is valued as a comparison to gold. It's digital gold. Okay, so it's a store of value. So if we're making these comparisons and we can project Bitcoin getting to the market value or total market value of what gold is at, then we can start to project where that cost or where that price of Bitcoin would, in theory, be when it would achieve that number. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that if we're looking at Ethereum, okay, and we can start to think through the lens of what is Ethereum's comp, we can start to look at it through the lens that it's valued in a different aspect. And even when I'm looking at some of my notes here, the reason why we would be valuing it in a few different measures or a few different aspects is that it's much more than just a store of value. Okay, it is absolutely going to be a tool that sort of unites the actual financial system currently with the crypto financial system, and it's going to be now it's a legal aspect. And when we look through the lens of what Ethereum is going to be valued with, we're starting to see, okay, the banks are getting involved with Ethereum. Level 2s are building on Ethereum. Robinhood's building on Ethereum. Coinbase is built on Ethereum. We can start to see all of these different factors start to align. Okay, and yes, there will be other coins and other aspects that will be used, like something like Solana, right, in comparison to Ethereum. But if we start to look at this gives us the way to look and analyze BitMine Immersion, BMNR, and look at, okay, where are they going to be valued and how much Ethereum will they have per share? And if we invest in them as a relatively a risky investment, right? If I'm thinking through this lens personally, I'm looking at it for my own case, and I'm going, okay, about a year ago, Ethereum was 0.05 value of Bitcoin. And if we look at that, projecting out Bitcoin, let's say getting to 150,000 by the end of the year, or to 200,000. If we look at that at 150,000, we're going to be seeing around the price of like a $7,000 Ethereum, and that will go up. I think it was $10,000 when we're looking at $200,000 costs of Bitcoin. That would give us that $10,000 price point for Ethereum. And so where we can look at this and actually use to analyze the value of Ethereum is, or BitMine Immersion in this case, as a treasury trade for Ethereum, is that now we can look at, okay, how much Ethereum per share will BitMine Immersion have? Okay, how much have they had? How quickly are they expediting this? We're seeing them going 10 or 12x faster than even strategy. And even I have some of my notes here is that they're looking at, when they first started, they had $4 of ETH per share. Now they have 23, or end of July, they had $23 of ETH per share. And that sets them up at an incredibly fast rate. And then when we start to value treasury companies, we have to look at liquidity, okay, and we have to look at velocity. And when you look at liquidity and velocity, that gives you this ability to start to analyze where this company could, in theory, be going, okay? Because those are some of the most important aspects. And some of the crazy aspects here with liquidity, with BitMine Immersion, is that they're trading at $1.6 billion a day. A very, very crazy number as far as trading is concerned. I was actually thinking about even asking Gemini or ChatGPT, where is that currently? Because they had been a top 10 traded stock as of like a week and a half ago. And so this takes us further in, is that ETH price is always going to be based on that recognition of power in 5 years, because now we're starting to see Ethereum is going to be, okay, people are starting to think through, okay, if it's projected out and let's say JP Morgan, all these companies are starting to invest in Ethereum, they're starting to build on it, they're starting to trade other assets on it, they're building stable coins on it, they're starting to really use this as an actual tool. They can also stake it. Now we can see how this is going to play out. And then we can even start to think through, this is one of the biggest downfalls that I think a lot of people are struggling with, is that inside of the crypto world, is that we are so infatuated with crypto cycles. Okay, so we believe so heartedly that the crypto cycle is based off of Bitcoin halving. Okay, and last year, this year in April or March, when Bitcoin halved, everybody made all these projections and everybody rolled with all these projections. And then they realized that when the ETFs had come out and they were buying a large amount of Bitcoin already, it changed the way the actual cycle rolls. And so the cycle off of halving, in my opinion, is almost it's not the way it was. It does not exist the way it was. There is so much more. There's so many more players in the space of crypto. There's so many more players. There's so many more things impacting the actual market of crypto than just Bitcoin halving. And I think that's the weirdest part right now, is that if we're trying to look at where something like BitMine Immersion could go, and yes, this is something that has gone up and then it has come down to like $40. But if we think about the 5-year play on something like this, it's not going to matter that much, in my opinion, because we can look at this and say, okay, if we can get Bitcoin to, if Bitcoin rises to $150,000 to $200,000, let's say $150,000 by the end of the year, just doing that, we should see that Ethereum should rise to probably around $7,000 by the end of the year. Now we start to think here as well, where what else is happening coming up September 17th is the Fed's going to be cutting interest rates, and they might be cutting it 1 or 2 more times before the end of the year. We also know that crypto usually has a very strong fourth quarter. We also know that when there's interest rate cuts, it has a very, very positive impact on the crypto space. And when that happens, okay, we might see a rise in Ethereum. Now, the thing is right now is that these treasury companies, especially for Ethereum, and if we look at BitMine Immersion, they are making big moves currently because they know that Ethereum is undervalued. So if we can get into this position and we can say, all right, let's, in my personal view, this is not financial advice, and this is more me sort of rolling through how I would explain this to my 10-year-old son, and I hope that you guys like and you subscribe and you're interested in this BitMine Immersion type information, is that we would be looking at a whole bunch of different factors that will continuously be put on that 5-year projection, which is going to have a major impact on where BitMine Immersion is, where these treasury ETH companies are, where Ethereum will be. And you have to start to go back and you look at Coinbase and Robinhood are building on Ethereum, the level 2s. Okay, we're looking at all of the other different aspects with stable coins. We're looking at the financial world getting involved. We look at the regulations coming into play, and now we're starting to see all of these things are starting to snowball and they're starting to rise. And then what I think is likely going to happen is these interest rates are going to get cut. There's going to be a somewhat negative response, I think, to the market in the end of September, early October. The crypto space, though, I think is going to run like crazy heading into 2026. And in turn, we're going to see a large positive impact on the acceptance over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And that is going to send Ethereum's price, Solana's price, Bitcoin's price to the moon. And if we start to see that this company, BitMine Immersion, is getting more and more and more value of ETH per share as a company, it will start to freaking take off to the moon. Now, when that happens is not something that we should be predicting. If it drops, it's okay. We can buy in at a lower place. And again, this is not financial advice for you, but is more so for me to think through. And I think that when we're looking at the price right now at like $42 a share, and we start to think through the ETH oil company comparison, that is where I like to see this long play over the next 2+ years. And I really, really think, one, Ethereum is insanely undervalued currently. Two, I think BitMine Immersion is also undervalued. And when you start to see things like Bill Miller and Stan Druckenmiller investing in this asset, I think there's going to be something big at play over the next 6 months. I just wanted to keep thinking through this and keep looking at what's the big factors. It's how much ETH is held per share. What's the velocity, which they're buying faster than anybody else. Okay, BitMine Immersion. Their liquidity is extremely freaking high, right? They trade at $1.6 billion a day about in some instances. And then what's the scarcity? Okay, and when you look at that and you look at that fact that BitMine Immersion is the premium company, that also gives them that sort of leadership in that space by far. And I think that makes them a bit more of a powerful play over the next couple of years. So I hope this helps somebody out there. I'm here in Tokyo. My goal is that I'm going to have a video every single day while I'm here. And as I'm thinking through all this process and working on business stuff and just hanging out in this crazy city, I hope this helps somebody. Peace.